Alright, rock and rollers, welcome back to another live stream. Your home for rock and roll on YouTube. It is September 6th in the Lord's year 2025, and we're getting this thing rolling. If you've seen any of my earlier live streams, you'll know that we've been working on some music. We've got a rock and rollin' song getting ready to come out because I've got some work done since the last live stream where I featured this new song. And the last two live streams, we did one on fuzz pedals where we demoed some fuzz pedals through real amps, and we did one on overdrives where we demoed some overdrives through real amps. The last one on overdrives, we had some tuning issues, but you know, that's part of live streaming. We want to just grab the thing by the balls and jump in and see what happens. That whole crash and burn element is what I think is great. Wait a minute. I might be having some echoes, so hold on. That should be better. Okay. I had something on here. So let me start over. Welcome to your home for rock and roll on YouTube. Thirsty Deer Studio. This is another live stream. I had a track active, and so it was probably causing some latency. So let's start over on that. Like I was saying, that's what it is about doing these things live. Shit happens, man. It's Saturday night, September 6th. If you're with me on a Saturday night, cool on you. I'm in here making music pretty much every night, definitely every night. And what did I do today? I took my son to see the new Superman movie, and it was pretty cool. It was better than I expected. It's the best one, I'd say, since I was a kid, So we dug that. He went wild in the theater, running up and down the aisles. I think I watched more of the movie than he did, but he had a good time. I had a good time. We hadn't been to the movies in a little while, so got out of the house, did that. If you're with me on a Saturday night, like I said, good on you. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. I have been doing a lot of live streams. You'd think I'd have all the bugs worked out, but if you caught the very beginning of this, you might see that, sometimes I'll leave a track armed, and it'll cause a little bit of latency or things. The reason I have a track armed is because I was tuning up and going over some things to play for this guitar solo. I want to cut a guitar solo tonight, or just take a couple swings at one, just so we're playing some guitar on the live stream. I'm thinking about doing a one mic drum thing for one of these live streams. We'll probably do that one during the day, so I'm not bashing drums late at night here in the house. I'm not the only one here, so can't be waking up children with drums, giving people heart attacks or something. Loud amps is a little easier on the ears than drums, just because of those transients. But I want to take you all through, because it's been a minute since we've listened to this song. Like I was saying, when the track was armed, if it was doing the little doubling effect, because my track was armed, I'm going to repeat all that. We've been working on a song on these live streams. The first 2 or 3, 4, I was working on a song, taking you through the mix, breaking it down. And I've got things, all except for one section of the vocals at the very end. I've got everything mixed how I want it. And I got this one mixed fairly quickly. I'm always mixing as I go, but I always take them out to the car, listen in different places, listen on earbuds, and make sure everything's translating on all the places you listen to music, in the car, on the earbuds, on the computer. I try and make sure it sounds good on everything. Sometimes small monitors in this room can be a little tricky. You think you have things the right level and it'll be a little too loud on the vocal or something. But this mix, I only had to take it out to the car 3 times to do little tweaks. Sometimes, honestly, I run it out there 20 times or more, getting things right. And so I'm hoping that means, that I'm getting more aware of how my speakers sound in this room and how I want things to sound, and getting my engineering more on point. But let's listen to some of this song. I'm gonna pull up the session and let you see that, and I'm gonna put me down in the corner, and then I've got a section where there's no vocal, and the last section of vocals right on the outro section, I might mute that part because I haven't had time to mix that section. I just did that last night. I think I've got it pretty well where I want it, but I haven't done all my checks I like to do, so we might mute the vocal on that but still let it play. But you'll hear this one section that I'm talking about. You'll hear there's no synth part on that section. That's the only section, and I'm going to try and put a guitar solo in there live. You know, we'll see how that goes. I've ran through it a few times. I know the changes for that part, so I'm going to play some major, some minor stuff over it, and we'll see what happens. But let me pull up the session. Are you all Ableton users? Before I do this, Ableton has a new update. You can go and get Ableton Live 12.3, which is the newest update on Ableton 12. I'm on Ableton 11, but I think I'm going to upgrade pretty soon because there's some new features that I'm really digging. On Ableton 12.3, for instance, they have this new stem separation, and as far as I know, with the exception of Logic is doing it and has been doing it. Ableton has this stem separation. Now you can do it other places like Moises. I think there's some other AI things that do it. But as far as it being in the DAW, just a feature inside of the DAW, I think Ableton is the second one. The only other one is Logic now. I haven't really heard how it does, but I know before Ableton puts anything out, they always make sure that it's working great, and I would expect it to be killer. So that's a new feature that I wanted to talk about with Ableton because I'm a hardcore Ableton fan. Ableton's what I started on, and it's where I'm still at. And I like what it does. I don't use all the stretching very much, stretching your time and all the quantization and all that, but it's great at that. I use it somewhat. I like their samples. I don't use drum samples. I play those, and I don't even do sample reinforcement or anything like that. But they have great samples. I use the synth samples and keyboard samples a lot. I have an analog synth over here now that I just got this year. It's the Behringer Poly D, which is like their mini Moog, and it's great. And I use that a lot now instead of using the stuff in the sound libraries, but I still use the stuff in the Ableton sound libraries a lot as well because it's all great in there. I like to use this analog synth when I can because when you're using sound library stuff, you're having to monitor that, and there's some latency, so a lot of times you have to move the tracks around a little bit to get them where you actually played them in at. And I like having the analog synth, especially now that I've started running it into guitar amplifiers, synthesizers. If you're playing them direct, try it through a guitar amp. It's a whole another level of awesomeness. It's fucking great. If I haven't mentioned, or if it was when the track was armed and maybe we were getting some doubling effect, subscribe to the channel. I haven't put out a new video probably in close to a month. Regular YouTube video where I edit the video. I'm getting ready to do one and put something out real soon, but I've been enjoying these live streams so much that I wanted to just keep rolling with that. And so when I'm taking time in front of the camera, lately it's been for the live stream. So without further ado, let's listen to some of this track, or let's listen to the whole damn track. I'm going to pull up the session so you can see what we're looking at, what we're listening to. And I'll put me down in the corner. Okay, let's make me a little bit smaller. Alright, there we go. Alright, so this is the session. These are some of the guitar parts right here. If we go all the way up, usually my drums are at the top. All these red tracks, let me make them a little bit smaller here. All these drum tracks are, all these red tracks are drums. You got ride overhead, hi-hat overhead are the first two. Then you got stereo room mics, crotch mic, snare mic, and kick drum. And then you got two buses, one for the rooms and one for the drum bus. And I'm doing something a little different with drums. Maybe we'll get into that this time. Just some different parallel stuff. The purple tracks are bass. This one's muted because I bounced it down with all the plugins on, and maybe through the compressor again too, the 1176. Here's guitar tracks. I've got some open guitar tracks because when I was recording this session early on, I had some other parts in here that didn't make the cut of the song, but they're still in my original session, and I just left the guitar tracks up there. We're going to use one of those to work on that solo. And you can see down here at the bottom, I have a cabasa part. I play real cabasa, you know, it's right up here. Let's see, cabasa. And then below that we have synthesizer, which this is all Poly D, which is my analog synth over there. And this section right here, when we get to this section that's blank with no synthesizer part, that's where we're going to put the guitar solo. Down here are my vocal tracks. So I've got a vocal, this is the lead vocal, down here is the double, and this is the vocal track I did just last night that I will probably mute. We'll go ahead and mute that. And let's play it. Here we go.
Imagination
So that's the track. You all heard it here first. You heard it here first. That's with a few minor adjustments. I'm gonna put a couple other things in there, like maybe a guitar solo we get tonight. That's the song. It's gonna be called, I'm pretty sure the working title now for it is Reckless Abandon. My artist name is Thirsty Deer. You're watching the Thirsty Deer Studio. So go check that out. It'll probably be out this week, I would say, because I have not very much left that I want to do to it. You heard a couple places in there probably where I got some CPU spikes and it dropped out or got a little staticky or wonky. That's my bad. I meant to go through and freeze a couple more tracks before we went live, and I totally forgot to do that. I was paying extra attention to tuning up guitars before this one because we had some tuning issues on the last one that kind of drove me nuts and it didn't turn out like I wanted. But tonight what we're going to do for this, because I want everything to sound smooth, I don't want to have to be muting the mic and unmuting it when I talk between guitar solo passes and things like this. I'm just going to record digitally tonight. We're going to record, direct monitoring with the track off, and then you can hear it in playback. I might have to adjust some levels on playback or put a compressor on to get it up a little bit. I'm not sure because I turned off a lot of plugins, but you'll be able to hear it while I'm playing it in, and then I'll go back and play it back if we get a pass we like. There's no guarantees, And what I'm going into for the digital amplifier is the TC Electronics GEMS 45, which is like a Marshall JTM 45 digital amp. And I'm using the IRs in that. A lot of times I'll use the direct out and use IRs in the DAW. And sometimes I'll use both. I'll use the IRs from that. And then I like the Pete Thorn PT100 IRs a lot. There's some great speaker sounds in there. He's got all the speakers. There's Friedman's, there's Greenbacks, there's Vintage 30s. I've got Vintage 30s, JBLs, real speakers in here in the studio, which you've been seeing if you've listened to the Overdrive Shootout or the Fuzz Shootout. Those were real amplifiers, vintage amps. And going into that GEMS 45, I'm hitting just 2 overdrive pedals, the Prince of Tone from Analog Man, and that's then going into the Warm Audio Centavo, which is a Klon clone. So I'm gonna put this track, set this marker where I want it, and then we're gonna try a pass at this guitar solo. Just, the camera's on, I might play shitty, there's a little bit of nerves that go on with live streams, I think, but we're gonna try it. I played, I didn't record anything, but I just played a few passes earlier just to kind of get a feel for where I wanted to be on the neck. But let's record a couple and see what we get. So you can hear a little bit of noise there with that. Let me just make sure, because I change a little bit on my levels, and I just want to make sure. So we're going to delete that one because, no. And we'll just take this off here. some reason. So let's do another one. Okay, so I can't hear that on the playback, so we need to, let's just solo it up, make sure. Yeah, we gotta get a lot more level out of that. So let's do this. Let's turn on plugins. Let's put this Neve on there and just boost the level without compressing anything. I've got it high pass. We'll do this. I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna put an LA2A on it because I find that the LA2A often sounds good on guitar solos anyway, gets the level up, compresses, you know, where it's smoothing everything out, great for a guitar solo. These UA plugins on my system always take a little bit to, like, they always show up blurry at first and then they take a minute to get active, but that way we can just have a plug-in on and get what we want. Let me do this real quick. So you can see, you know, everything's happening as we're doing it, and you know, it's as it goes. I really wasn't happy with that solo either, but let's just listen to it. So what I was doing, you know, with those plugins, I was at first on this Neve over here, I was getting the level. I was trying to boost the level just with the mic preamps without any compression, and I did in fact have the compressor on. I didn't notice it at first, but I didn't have much of a gain bump off the compressor, so we still weren't hearing it. You can see on this EQ I'm boosting a little bit of 10K, a little bit of 3.2, which is a good frequency if you want a mid-rangey guitar solo, which that's what we're going for with this Jim's 45 Marshall thing. You know, mid-range is good, and a little bit more for this isn't going to hurt, so I'll just leave that in there. I had that on for something different I was doing with guitars, you know, when I was initially tracking this. And so I took off the compressor on this Neve, and then over here on this, this is a gate or expander, depending on how you set it. If you have the EXP right there at the bottom lit up, it's an expander, which it's getting out all of the noise from like before I actually start playing, the noise that I have off this amp sim, I rolled that up a little bit to cut some of that out because I noticed that heavily in the track when I did the playback, because I didn't come in for a few bars, but I was getting the noise off this Jim 45. So let me play it back one more time and see if I've got that set okay where it's cutting most of the noise. If you put it on expander, it's like it's expanding and lowering the noise kind of more gradually than a gate. A gate tends to cut out in and out when you use a gate for guitars a lot of times, or for anything. It can be kind of choppy. I'm not using any effects. I've got aux send effects. You can hear them on the vocals and stuff. I'm not using any of those for this guitar solo, but I am going through, I forgot to mention it, the Strymon timeline delay. I've got it like on an Echoplex setting, and just getting, I think, probably about 250 to 350 on the delay, milliseconds on the delay. So let's play that back one more time. It's not the solo I'm going to keep for sure, but when I get playing on these live streams, the nerves start to kick in. I think I haven't done enough playing live on the live streams. Like when I'm doing regular guitar videos, it tends to work out pretty good, but I'll take a couple runs at things, and I took a couple runs at this without recording, just to get the feel and familiarize myself with the changes even more before the live stream, like a refresher course, But I'm gonna just we'll leave these plugins up because I might do some tweaking of levels, but here we go. So, it doesn't sound bad. It fits with what's playing in the song, but it's definitely not what I want, And sometimes it takes me a while to get a solo, I might try it through real amps. For this live stream, I like everything going through real amps better. Let me just state that off the top. And let me also say, again, if you dig this type of music, like seeing music get recorded, you can tell it's a great sounding track. I should have frozen some of the tracks so I didn't get those CPU hits where I got those little dropouts, so you could hear everything a little more clearly. But go listen to this thing when it comes out, man. I promise you, it'll be sounding great like it is now. And I want to talk about some guitar things because I've been doing some, lessons online a little bit and trying to get more outside with my guitar playing, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit too. There's some great people doing stuff online. I just watched a Corey Congilio video about him playing diminished, like seventh diminished chords, which I've got one song where it starts out with it's really like a flat 5 chord, like a flat 5 minor chord, and then you throw in like a 6 or a ninth or a 2, a second on there, and it's a really cool, dissonant sound. And I just had to work out where they were. I never really had a rule of thumb about where to put them. And if you go like a half step up from the root or a half step up from the fifth and throw in that shape, it's a really cool kind of haunting sound. I just wanted to say that because I've been working on that a lot lately. But here, let's turn this back on, and I'll try another pass at it. Let's see where we're at with it. If you want to jam over this and try your own thing, it's the changes are kind of. So it's C, like C sharp minor to B, and then F sharp to E. So those are the chords where I'm thinking about on the neck when I'm playing the solo. So C sharp, B, F sharp, E, right? You can play in C sharp minor, you can play in E major, you can play some in B down here or F sharp. But let's try another pass at it real quick. We'll keep that one, you know, just on there. You know, there's things you can do where you can comp solos together. I've done that before. Like, you have a part of one that you like. So it's good not to delete stuff unless you hate it. You know you don't dig it, none of it. Then you can delete it. Like that first one I felt like wasn't great, so I took it off there. But so you don't hear the string noise, I am going to go ahead and mute this mic too. But I went somewhere I didn't like on the neck on that one. I'm just going to start over. This is how it worked, man. I'll take a bunch of passes at a solo. I heard it's how Jimmy Page did the Led Zeppelin solo. There's I think the guy's Phil Brown, somebody like that. This old engineer. There's a great interview with him. I think it's Andrew Sheps when he was doing those videos during COVID where he was interviewing great engineers. I think it's Phil Brown, and he was doing just, Page was having him just hit record and over again, and you know, doing the Stairway to Heaven solo. And I guess the song actually came out maybe a year after he did this session where he was just punching in Jimmy over and over for the solo. I thought that was crazy because I've done that before. It's kind of like what we're doing now, you know. Let's try another one. Well, that was pretty cool, but for some reason it wasn't recording. So let me try it again. I must have hit play instead of recording. So here we go. Alright, so let's take a listen to that one. okay, but I'm still not hitting some of these licks that I want, and I'm getting some noise where I might stand up and try and play one. Let's try another one. Let's just go ahead and do another one for good measure. Well, let's listen to it. Shit. I think that one I might not have muted the mic, and it might have been getting string noise in there. So let's try that again, and let's mute the mic. Alright, so I kicked off those two overdrive pedals, and I kicked on the Rat. Let's try a different flavor. Studios, man, you got to be careful in studios, because like right here in my little station, Tim Pierce has like he calls it his cockpit, and everything's right there in reach, and that's kind of how I've done my thing a little bit. My pedals are a little bit over, except for the pedals I mix with. I have some pedals up here that I mix with right under where the camera is, and you know, I just switch from unbalanced cable to a balanced cable when I mix real quick to these ones on the desk. Sometimes to a couple on the floor right by the desk. But then I have like all my overdrives and fuzzes over here in front of, you might be able to see this amp, my 67 Twin back here on the floor. I'm trying to get the camera to follow me, but so I switched over. What I was saying though was it can be hard on guitars. Like, you know, this guitar never had a nick on it till I had the studio, and then it's got a few. But let's try one with the Rat pedal on. I kicked off both the Prince of Tone and the Klon. I was also doing something earlier where I had on this rotary speaker. Let me see how. Might have been a little bit louder on your in your right ear than your left. Not much, just like maybe 0.3 dB or something. I tried to even that out for you, and that was some stuff on the actual setup, you know, outboard gear. So let's try another one with the Rat on. Here we go. Okay, so I think I've worked out what I had going on. Earlier, when I was tracking, and you know, before the live stream came on, I had the boost on the Gems 45, and I think I had that on instead of one of the drive pedals. So I had on like one drive and the boost on the Gems 45, and I definitely don't need the boost on with the Rat. So let's do one. I'm gonna delete this one and do one with the Gems 45, no boost. This is the green side of the Gems 45 if you have one or checking them out. The red side's a little more pushed Marshall, but since we're using these overdrive pedals and it's direct with the Les Paul P90s, this thing has a lot of, this thing's a lot louder than the Tele, you know. It's almost using P90s is almost, even though they're single coils, it's almost like putting a boost in line just from having the P90s. But since I've got the Rat on, I think it's a little too harsh sounding. Even with, like, I took off some EQ, if you saw that. Let's try another one with the Gems 45 no boost on. If you're in the chat, let me know what you think about the song. If there's anything you want me to try in the mix or anything you want me to try in the solo, put it in the chat, say hi. Hit subscribe. So we got the Rat on. Here's the Gems 45 green channel. I'm gonna mute this mic and we're gonna try another shot at the solo. See, another thing, I'm staying in a place that's like comfortable for me because the camera's on, places that I've worked out. I like to get more outside though too. We might try some of that as well. So muting the mic. Let me just listen to that tone and see if I like it better. I definitely didn't like that run on the solo, but let's try it again. Yeah, I definitely like that tone better. I want to take a few of these off because that's why I'm getting some glitchy, dropouts. It's because these overdubs are starting to build up, and I don't care that much about any of them. I want to make the live stream sound good more than I want to save these for comping. So let's try another one real quick. Take a few of those off there. Hopefully we don't get the glitchy shit as much. Played some shit I didn't like. If I don't like it, if I have a note that's way out and it just like fucks everything up for me, I just usually delete it. So let's just do another run. Here we go. So that time I forgot to mute the mic again. Just doing them, man. Knock them out. Because I'm going to be doing this regardless. So this is, how it works. I do need to probably tune. Hold on just a second. I'll turn this on. And I'm just going to tune off the AW. let's listen to that one back because there was parts of that I liked pretty well. That was cool, but it was a little disjointed. Like, I think I came in too early on it. So maybe that's one that we could move some stuff around and comp it together. I do like to get them in one shot. Uh, you know, we're early in the live streams, uh, still working things out. Got multiple things going on in my head. I don't know if we'll get one. We've only got a few minutes left in the live stream, but let's do another one. So right there, I'll switch pickups, and I usually have my neck pickup rolled back to about 7.5, 8, and I had it all the way up, and there was way too much low end, so it messed me up, and I started in the wrong place too. Let's try it again. So I liked the run at the end of that one, and the one before that I liked parts of as well. You can see how in the studio you can get parts that you like and comp them together. There's been famous people that have talked about they played a solo in the studio that they can't do live. Badass guitar players, and it's because they'll go from up here on the neck to immediately up here and the part's been comped. And there's just no way to do it. It's physically impossible or whatever. Most of my solos for my songs, and I've got some good, speedy solos. I've got some more melodic, kind of soaring solos in my songs. I've got most of them in one take. There was one definitely I can think of that was 2 takes comped together. I'd rather do it that way just because I feel better about myself getting them in one take. But sometimes it takes, I'm not always the guy that can work out the solo in my head beforehand. I have to play around like I'm doing now and be like, oh, I want that part there, and take these little bits and pieces and remember where they're at and put it together that way. For those of us doing this at home that aren't, in the studio every day. Well, I'm in the studio every day, but I also work 40 hours a day. I have to take the time when I can get it at home. Usually it's about now after my son goes to bed, and I've got different priorities I have to meet. I work 40 hours a week at my job. This week it's going to be 45 because I'm on overtime, and all that shit's a drag because I just want to be here making this music. Got a great sounding song. It's very close to being done. I just want to get a guitar solo on it, really. So that's about all I got. We're gonna cut this off here in just a few minutes. Well, shit, it says 56, so we still got 2 minutes. Let's do one more. And then maybe I'll play you out with a video like I usually do of one of my songs from the past. Not too distant past. So I'm working it out though, like I liked where I came in on that one. Coming in on that, if you're in C minor, coming in on that, like a 2, like in C sharp minor, coming in on the 2, on the E flat, that sounded cool. Coming in on the 6, or maybe it's, you can call it a 2 or a 9, if you're thinking about it in terms of theory. Alright, but I'm gonna get out of this and get out of this DAW so I don't get no glitchiness when I play damn, I don't know how long that's been that way. When I play music. So you all have just been seeing the doll instead of me. Shit, I don't know, man. But anyway, I'm gonna close this out and I'm gonna play you all another song real quick. We'll play an oldie but a goodie, not too old. We'll play one of the more recent jams, and I'll put the video up so you can see me tracking in the studio too. Let's see. Let's do this one. This is a different one. I don't think I played. I might have played that one. Let's do this one. Here you go. Here's some music. Have a good Saturday night. Have a good weekend. Who's running this ship? They'll abandon when it goes down.
your part.